What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Two Dudes in a Rabbit Hole. I'm David.
I'm Gavin.
And I'm a rabbit hole. I'm Riley.
Today we're going to be going over the conference championship games. Woo! Gavin, go ahead and take us off on the 49ers versus the Eagles.
All right. So I think a lot of us felt that this game could have been epic, just like the Chiefs and Bengals. However, we were kind of robbed on that because the backup, or well, not backup, but Brock Purdy got injured 2 throw attempts into the game. So kind of just stuttered their offense from there. Riley and I were talking a little bit before the pod, but we also noticed that a lot of the battle in the trenches was won by the Eagles, and that was shown by them forcing 2 fumbles and winning the turnover battle. So they were able to get out to a pretty big lead by halftime. They're up 21-7. But yeah, I mean, the Eagles just kind of played what was in front of them once they knew that the Niners didn't really have a quarterback that could throw past 10 yards. The game plan became really easy, just kind of hold and maintain the lead, and then you should have an easy ticket to the Super Bowl, which they did. And I think for the Niners, just kind of bad luck. It just sucks that it happened at, the game before the Super Bowl, but you just go into next season with a quarterback battle, see if it's Trey Lance or Brock Purdy, and just try to beef up that defensive line as well as offensive line. And then they can be right back here again next season potentially. So it just sucks because it could have been a good game, but it just wasn't meant to be. So yeah, that's all I got for it. David, what are your thoughts on it?
I was hoping for the game we were all hoping for, is that wild defensive either standoff or a absolute shootout. Obviously the injury to Brock Purdy and then Justin Johnson kind of ruined the game.
Mm-hmm.
I, like Gavin said, the Eagles won the trenches battle. One of the things that the announcers pointed out is how low the Eagles got on like fourth and short or third and short plays. They were literally like in rugby stances at the goal line, which gave them the edge. So their defense didn't have to do a lot really after Purdy got knocked out of the game, which I think there's something a little odd that's going on, especially considering Purdy and Justin Johnson both got hurt in the same exact manner, in the same exact kind of position in the windup for their throws. So I think it's a little odd, but that could just be me. We did go through and we were around for the Saints targeting scandal. Not saying that that's what's going on, but it was kind of odd how they both, in the middle of their throw, hit in the arm. One knocked out by a concussion, which is different, but it's still a odd spot to get hit for 2 different players 2 different times in the game. I think they would have been better off putting in McCaffrey at kind of a wildcat situation, considering he was their emergency quarterback. But that's just me. Riley, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I just want to echo the sentiment of being disappointed that we didn't get to see the game we were all hoping for. And I think whether it was Brock Purdy in there for that first drive or whether it was a couple drives in when God, he's so well known as a backup yet so unknown as a starter that David didn't even get his first name right on any of his like 3 attempts. It was great. So Josh Johnson, I do believe. I'm sure Gavin picked up on that too. So Josh Johnson has been in the league forever. He's played for almost half the NFL, I believe. But he's just, I mean, he's a professional clipboard holder at the end of the day. I agree with David. Probably should have just said, screw it. Clearly this isn't working. Let's try McCaffrey. And they didn't end up turning to that. I think they should have. And I think part of that is the Eagles immediately knew the pass isn't a threat. You bring the extra guy into the box. And then if you have McCaffrey back there, at the very least, you get the numbers edge back to even. Yeah, you have the extra guy in the box, or shit, maybe even have 2 extra guys in the box at that point. But your quarterback's then a rusher, so that's really helping you, and that gives you 1 extra blocker. So, it's a really hard situation. I don't think the Niners could have done a whole lot more. I think the thing I noticed most was the Niners kind of got out Ninered. I know over the last 3-4 seasons, we think of the Niners as the guys who beat you up, the big burly team, offensive line, defensive line. The Eagles straight up beat them on both sides of the ball in the trenches. Like, it was pretty clear and evident when Brock Purdy got sacked and they recovered that. And then same thing for Johnson. Those guys were flying off the line. It was incredible. This Eagles front nearly broke the record for sacks. I know it's a 17-game season, but Jesus Christ, 70 sacks. The record's 72. It's not like they were far off. They were right there. Wow. This Eagles team is really fucking good. I think they would have beat the Niners regardless of Purdy being in there or not. I just kind of think it ended up being not what we were hoping for. And it could have been, maybe it would have been 28-21 or 24-20 or something. But I do think the Eagles would have found a way to grind this game out one way or another, especially because they just kind of sat on the ball once they were up. I know some people were trying to point to like, oh, the Niners didn't even allow 300 yards, blah, blah, blah. The Eagles didn't care. The Eagles just, they realized what they had to do, like what Gavin said. They just sat on the ball. They didn't have to do anything to win this game after halftime. They knew it was basically over as long as they didn't screw themselves, and they didn't. And I think it was smart. I think they went about it the right way. So shout out Eagles. Good luck to them in the Super Bowl. And if you're the 49ers, I think you need to reassess a little bit. But honestly, I think it was more bad luck than anything. So that's what I have to say about this game. Anybody?
I
No,
have
sounds good to me.
a little bit there. There's speculation that Purdy won't even be ready for next season. He might have to have Tommy John surgery. So
Oh,
yeah, and that's almost essentially a career ender. In speculation.
It's not as much now, but it used to be back before medical science advanced really well.
Yeah.
But I know what you're saying. It's
in
still,
the 90s and early 2000s, it was a career ender for quarterbacks and pitchers in the MLB. Like, you had Tommy John surgery, you were done. So there's a chance it really hinders him, but with modern medicine now, he could come back and be better. Could be a little bit under, but still around the same area. But the Niners do have a tough decision when Purdy is healthy. Do you keep him as a backup, or do you slide away from Trey Lance? So
I got some more updates on Niners quarterback injury stuff and like kind of recovery times.
yeah,
Like you said, for Purdy, it could be a Tommy John surgery, but they're estimating around him being out for like 6 to 7 months, which would put him right around
preseason.
potentially missing like missing preseason and possibly a couple games, kind of right on that edge. And then for Trey Lance, he's supposed to be able to resume football activities within the next month. So he'll be ready like months before even OTAs begin. So at least going into that quarterback battle, Trey Lance is going to have a huge advantage because he's going to be able to go through that, get some more first team reps while Purdy kind of rehabs at that point.
Yeah, I think the advantage it gives Purdy is he gets more time on tape. Yeah, he's going to be there with the team, but he's going to have the game tape advantage at least because he's going to be able to watch everything multiple times and be able to learn to read those packages that teams will line up in and be able to get that playbook really dialed down from a reading and studying standpoint than Trey, but Trey will have the rep advantage over Purdy. But I think personally that the rep advantage doesn't matter as much for Purdy because, I mean, look at him during the season. He got how many reps at the beginning of the season when Trey and Garoppolo were there as first team? And then, Trey goes down. Garoppolo's got to step up. Purdy's got to step up and get second team reps and get a few first team reps. And then Garoppolo goes down, and Purdy comes in and just resumes things as normal. And honestly, I think he played better than Garoppolo, personally. So, that being said, I don't think the rep count matters as much for Purdy. I think he's just that kind of player. And that's a special kind of player. But that's the last bit I have on the...
Brock Purdy.
I really like him. I think he came out and showed that he's got a lot of talent. Whether he stays in San Francisco or he goes to another team, he has that talent level. And he's played at that level. And he's got a lot of people to prove wrong. Mostly Nick Saban.
So going into next year, do you think the 49ers will have some cap space to play with? They have their own free agents to re-sign still, but do you think it's worth investing, let's say, $5 to $15 million in another quarterback in case, let's say, Brock Purdy's injury, like, it permanently affects him in a negative way and just lowers his athleticism too much to be overcome, or Trey Lance just isn't the guy, Purdy's not ready until 6, 8, 12 weeks into the year? Do you think it's worth investing in another quarterback to come in behind Trey Lance? Somebody around the caliber of a Jimmy Garoppolo? That to be like a really high-level backup or no-end starter?
Honestly, I think Purdy will be ready by week 4 at least. So I don't know if it's necessarily worth it, in my opinion. But that being said, I'm not an expert. To me, it's not worth it where you can spend money elsewhere to shore up a few things, maybe a few coaches, trainers, specialized people, or, get just little bits and pieces. That's not against salary?
Coaching isn't against salary cap. That's how Sean Payton just got like $40 million.
Okay.
Or whatever.
So, that being said, maybe you go get a few more pieces. Go get a little different here or there kind of guys. I know Elijah Mitchell was out for a little bit. Maybe you go get another back because he wasn't even activated for the Eagles game.
Mm-hmm.
So, if Elijah Mitchell's going to be hurt a bit, maybe you want to go back and secure your backfield a little bit so that McCaffrey's not getting injured during the season and having to worry about his hamstring. That's just me. Maybe you get one more receiver, maybe a big, not a deep threat, but a jump ball threat. I know you have Kittle already, but something to think about.
I have a suggestion that would continue to break the brains of everybody who faces the Niners.
Okay, go with it.
Just what if they said, all right, we're going to spend, let's say, 10 or 12 million in cap space, and they just signed Josh Jacobs, and you just can't figure out what the fuck they're going to do at this point on offense, no matter how hard you try.
That would be
I don't think they
wild.
should. I just think it would be absurd.
Very
mean-
absurd. Very, very absurd.
You need, dude. They're already lining up with George Kittle in the backfield half the time anyway. Like, I don't know, man.
And you
I
could
think they could
literally
do-
line up with. So I noticed one of the things they did in the game against the Cowboys is that they had McCaffrey kind of line up at like off the line, barely, like in a tight end slot. And
H-back
then,
slot, yeah.
yeah. And still had someone in the backfield and did a fake handoff. You could literally run that with Kittle in the other tight end spot and fucking just run random shit. Just
Sounds like
because
Wing
it would
T
be
stuff.
crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But that would be wild. But Josh Jacobs has already said he wants to stay a Raider. So I'm hoping he comes back.
Do you want to pay him?
Do I want to pay him $10 million a year? I'll pay him $9 million.
I was gonna say, what if it's 12?
No. I don't think paying backs is worth it
Okay.
anymore.
I'm on the same boat unless it's like a clear Hall of Fame guy.
Yeah,
Mhm.
which, Josh Jacobs could eventually be. Maybe in that middle of that second contract, he shows that he's going to be that Hall of Fame guy. Yeah, then I'll pay him. Then I'll pay him a fuck ton of money. But it's
No.
it's too early, in my opinion. And after every rookie contract we've seen recently, these backs get paid that big money, and then they just don't exist anymore.
Or they don't get paid and they go to another team and they still flame out almost immediately.
Le'Veon Bell, Zeke.
Philip Lindsay had
Oh, Jesus.
2,000-yard seasons and a couple Pro Bowls.
Yeah.
Say what you want, he averaged like 5.5 yards a carry, and they did nothing after his first contract. The Broncos
Yep.
were like, "We're not going to retain you, even though you've kicked the shit out of everybody."
David Johnson.
And he did nothing. Oh my god!
Went
All right,
from
we need to
being
move on.
top tier to I can't do anything.
We desperately need to.
Okay,
You
Riley,
guys
go
have-
ahead and take us off on the Bengals and Chiefs.
Okay, Bengals Chiefs. I watched this entire game. It was a really good game. I'm aware there were some weird calls in the fourth quarter. Ironically enough, any of the controversial calls didn't actually really affect anything. I know everybody's going to point to the weird ass third down, then it's fourth, then it's back to third. That was legitimately a difference of like 12 yards of field position. That's all it was. It was not some back-breaking thing. Was it weird? Was it stupid? Yes. If you actually zoom out and look on the camera that overlooks the entire field, guess what? The ref was trying to blow the play dead before it started. Like, it legitimately was a thing. It wasn't something they made up after anything. It was actually happening. Is it dumb? Is it weird that it was the guy 40 yards away from the plate? Absolutely. Not debating that. It did happen. Barely affected the game at all. Just want to address that one up front. Beyond that, felt like the Chiefs were in control in the first half. Felt like the Bengals were able to claw that back in after a turnover, middle to late second quarter. Joe Burrow gets intercepted. The Chiefs are in a great spot to expand the lead. They're up 13-3, and then just 3 straight incompletions. And Butker was only hitting from like low 50s in warmups, like 52, 53 max. So we're talking needing to get to about the 35 in order to even have a chance in the 30 to feel comfortable about it. And they ended up punting the ball because of that, even though they were at like the 42 or 40 or so of Cincinnati. Cincinnati gets a field goal. Instead of it being a 13-point game, at least it ends up being a 7-point game going into the half. Cincinnati's able to get the momentum back. They go back and forth a little bit without a whole lot happening the first half of the third quarter. Cincinnati scores a touchdown. It's 13-13. And then Kansas City is able to put together a really nice drive. They're able to get a touchdown, go up 20-13, start to get the momentum. Cincinnati almost immediately either has a 3-and-out or only picks up 1 first down on the next drive. Kansas City has the ball. They're up 7. They have momentum. The drive's starting, and you almost feel like this is the chance where they're going to put it up 14 or at least 10, and it's going to be up to the Bengals to claw back in. And then Patrick Mahomes just has the ball slip out of his hands on a quick screen. It happens. It happens to most quarterbacks once or twice a season. It's dumb. It sucks. It's whatever you want to call it. It's not usually a skill thing. It's usually just the ball slipped. And the ball slipped out of Mahomes' hand, and the Bengals capitalized, scored a touchdown off that. It's 20-20, back and forth for a little bit. Both Kansas City and the Bengals had multiple drives of a chance to take the lead in the fourth quarter, and they both kind of blew them. Kansas City blew one, the Bengals blew one, Kansas City blew another, and then the Bengals get the ball back. They start driving a little bit. They have like a huge, 3rd and 14 or 3rd and 16 conversion from deep in their own territory. And I honestly thought this was going to be the end. The Bengals were going to drive and finish this game out. That's not what happened. Kansas City ended up just winning the trenches. They ended up getting a sack to close that drive out. They get a really impressive punt return of about 30 yards or so. And then, I mean, a couple completions later, it's super late in the game. And Mahomes, we all know what happened. He scrambled to the sideline, and I'm not even going to say his name. I feel really bad for the guy who just pushed him a little bit late out of bounds. I know it was close. It was late. At the end of the day, it sucks. It was late. They've called it that way all season from start to finish, and you just can't touch him as soon as their foot's out of bounds. And he was a tenth of a second away from having both feet out of bounds. So it was clearly late. Leads to a much easier field goal. If not, it's a 60-yard attempt. There's no way that's going in, but they still have 8 seconds. So they're probably trying to hit a 5 to 10 yard out, give Butker a chance at it. And yeah, I mean, it was a really good game. The Bengals were kind of playing catch up most of the game. And when they finally did even it up, they kind of just blew their chances to take the lead. They had a couple chances. They had a couple, not like terrible interceptions, but unfortunate interceptions on the tip pass, and then the one right before halftime as well. I think the Bengals let one slip through their hands. I don't think they should have won this game, but I think they absolutely could have stolen it. I think there's 100% chance that they're kicking themselves right now going, man, we could have scored on our last drive. We could have put this out of reach. We could have won this game. And they didn't. And if you're Kansas City, you're probably over the moon that you found a way to win this with Mahomes hobbled the majority of the game. It was crazy to see him still not scramble around, but maneuver in the pocket while clearly hampered and make like amazing throws. It was crazy to see. I'm really glad Mahomes won, just so we can stop the Mahomes Burrow shit, at least until next time they face. Because he's better. I get it. Burrow won the first 3. Totally recognize that. And he outplayed him. For the most part, he outplayed him. I'm glad it just kind of went back to status quo for a bit, rather than just hearing bitching about how can we praise Mahomes and all that when he's like 0-4 against Burrow. I'm glad he got the win, just so I don't have to hear that. And besides that, I think Kansas City played it right. They played the game a bit conservative in some spots and a bit aggressive in others. And they won the trenches. The Bengals, we kind of just forgot after their performance against the Bills that they were missing most of their offensive line. And it showed. I mean, Burrow was sacked, like 5 times or so and pressured all day. Kansas City played it well. Their defense played well. I think it's going to be really hard to beat the Eagles. I think they can, but it's just going to be a matter of like how healthy is Mahomes and how healthy is Hurts. So I think it was a great game. It sucks to see some of the officiating get in the way. I'm sure we'll end up touching on that a little more between both of you guys, but I think the right team won at the end of the day, and I think the score was also about right. I think it was that close of a game. It was a really good game, even if it was a bit weird in the fourth quarter. What do you have, Gavin?
I mean, you said like 75% of it right there. It was like perfect word for word.
Yeah, sorry. I was like, fuck, I'm getting carried away, but I've been thinking about this game like all day because it was really good.
No, you're good. Yeah, so I think like you said before, like first half of the game, Chiefs come out. I think they end the half at like being up 13-3. So you kind of have this feeling like, oh my God, like this could easily turn into like a 30-10 type of game. Like, you know, if they're just clicking on all cylinders. But as you mentioned, it was insane to see how well Mahomes played even on one leg. And then at least the commentators were saying that like he was also down 2 or 3 of his like top receivers. And just to be able to get out of there with a win like that was insane because, I mean, there was a lot of shade thrown between both these teams. And I guess apparently, like, the actual mayor of Cincinnati came out and called, like, Arrowhead Burrowhead and was, like, basically guaranteeing that Joe Burrow was going to make his second straight Super Bowl appearance. And, I mean, it ended the way it ended. It was funky, but, I mean, like you said before, a lot of those flags were justified. It wasn't just kind of out of the box weirdness. And it sucks for that linebacker too, because I remember seeing that play, and like you said, Mahomes is basically out of bounds, and you just can't touch him when he's out of bounds. And just it sucks too because it was kind of like after he did that, I saw kind of his knee buckle up underneath him. And I thought immediately, I was like, oh, that's probably like his ACL or something. And immediately it's like, oh, just like insult to injury. Like you make the boneheaded play, which gives him that 15-yard advantage to kick instead of a 60-yarder. It's a 45-yarder. And that's enough. You know, it just sucks to lose that way because it was so kind of back and forth in the second half. And we had mentioned this before, but both teams had chances in the like late fourth to engineer drives, and Kansas City was able to get a tip interception again, and then just with like 40 or so seconds left for Chris Jones to get that big sack on Burrow to force them to punt the ball so they can get it for one last final drive was just insane. So yeah, it's definitely one of those games that's going to reflect well on like Mahomes' career highlights. And yeah, I mean, this could be, you know, like a nice little run for Mahomes if he wins the Super Bowl too, because it would be another season where he's probably going to win MVP as well as the Super Bowl. It's just like insane to think about. But that's really all I have on it. I think the Bengals basically just go back, get healthy at their offensive line. I don't know where they can retool, if they even need retooling. They are a pretty complete team. I think just maybe working on better linebackers and maybe a couple corners here and there, because I know a couple of their corners got called on those holds. So I don't know. I feel like they're strapped in the cap, so they can't really do too much. But yeah, that's about all I got.
Okay. I'm ready for the rabbit hole.
So this was a great game. Don't get me wrong. As much as I'm gonna bitch and complain in my segment here, it was a great game. I think that Kansas City could have won this game without Patrick Mahomes. I don't think this is some marquee game for Patrick Mahomes. Yes, he was hurt. Yes, he played well. And yes, he did what he had to win, but I don't think it's any different of a game if Chad Henne's in there playing, because you have one of the greatest play callers for a coach in Andy Reid. Get off my soapbox on that. I think the NFL has to go and fix their officiating problem. Last week against the Bills, the Bengals were penalized twice for 9 yards. And then the next week, they're penalized 9 times for 71. There's a massive difference, and it makes a massive difference during the game. Technically, yes, the call on the linebacker pushing Mahomes out of bounds, technically it's correct. But earlier in the game it had happened, and one of the comments that was made was it has to be like malicious. It has to be like intentional. He put one arm out. He barely touched him. But he was running at full speed, and Mahomes is hobbled, so he can't stop. He can't properly slow down. So yeah, it's going to look bad. So should he have touched him? No. But I also think it's one of those calls that technically could have not been called, in my opinion. I think the refs need to, quite frankly, I'm going to say this the most prude way, fuck off with the flags. It's not their game to decide. One thing I have an issue with the refs, going back and forth on third to fourth to third, is not about the time or the field position, but it's the fact that they're making all of these decisions after these plays are over or after intermission's over instead of letting the game play. Did it change anything for the Chiefs? No. Did it change anything for the Bengals? Not really. It really didn't change anything. So why did they need to go and do it? That's just me. That being said, there are a lot of people speculating that the NFL is rigged this season, and it would make a lot of sense. I get it. All these flags and all these second chances for the Chiefs, and it almost seems like they're handing them the game. I get it. I understand it. I'm a Raiders fan. I watched it happen with Tom Brady. I'm not going to say it is, but I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised and put it past them at all, because I don't think the Bengals and Eagles game sells as much as the Chiefs and Eagles do, because it's going to be a better game. Now, if the Niners had won, I think the Niners-Bengals sells better than the Chiefs and Niners. So it could have gone that way. Who knows? But the NFL is a money-making machine, and that's what they're going to do. We've seen it in the MLB. We've seen it in the NFL with players betting on games. We've seen it in the NBA with refs betting on games and then going to those games and, making egregious calls. I.e. Lakers, Kings, Western Conference Finals, 2002.
Yep, can confirm.
So, could there be some hidden truth? Yeah. But I don't know. I think there were a couple plays on some of those drives in the fourth quarter where Burrow didn't need to go deep, but I get why he wants to, and I get that he trusts his receivers to go make that play when he throws the ball up there. So I'm not faulting him for it, but I think there's a better play, there's a better route to be had, and an easier way to get a first down, because they didn't need to go score a touchdown. They didn't need a massive play. They needed to eat clock and kick a field goal. So that's my two pieces. I hope we see Burrow in the Super Bowl again. I don't think this is a decisive victory for Mahomes over Burrow. Burrow had 2 linemen that were original starters in the season. 2. You have your entire line, Mahomes. Yeah, you're hobbled, but you have your entire line, and you still had to make shit up and try and get certain passes completed in your crazy, fantastic way.
He was missing most of his receivers by the time that game ended. It was pretty wild.
Yeah, and I get that. And there were still some throws that he couldn't actually get all the way into when he did throw them.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was one on third down. He was throwing a comeback route, and he literally couldn't step all the way through it, and it was like a yard and a half short. So, I don't know. I think it's going to be... I'll say my piece about the Eagles-Chiefs Super Bowl next time we record. So, that's all I have on the game. You guys got anything else?
Is there anything else you want to touch on, Gavin, with it?
Nah, it just sounds like a Raiders fan who hates Mahomes.
I do. So, I'm a Raiders fan, and I'm gonna shit talk quarterbacks and teams in my division. But I think
Mhm.
Mahomes gets a lot more hype for doing things that he should do because he is that good. So he gets more hype than what is necessary for certain things, and it's like, yeah, that's what he's supposed to do. That's what he gets paid all this money for. So like, kind of quit riding his dick. Yeah, he's great, but it's almost like people are just dick riding the whole time.
Gotcha.
David, I'm gonna be as blatant as I can about this, and I hate to say it out loud because I'm sure it'll taint everything I ever say about Mahomes from here on out. But can't you just let me have somebody who has a chance at fucking knocking Brady off? Just a chance. Like, I don't even know if he'll get there, but he at least has an opportunity to. Just let me have that and have some sort of hope. Because every time, like, I had to watch these games over the weekend, I was like, how can Mahomes win this? What's his path to winning the Super Bowl? Not because I like Mahomes, but because I fucking hate Brady. And I could just use something to just knock him off the fucking pedestal that everybody's ridden the dick of for the last 20 years.
Brady cheated his way to most Super Bowls. Mahomes hasn't had to do that to get to his.
We're actually, David doesn't know this yet. We're going to dedicate an entire episode on Tom Brady at some point. And
That's fair. And how he's a cheating piece of shit.
There's that. It's not even that I think he isn't the GOAT at quarterback. I do think he is. I'm not even debating that. I just think it's overblown a bit, and we're looking at the wrong shit. Like, he beats a team in the Super Bowl he's supposed to, but he does it in dramatic fashion. And then he loses to 3 teams he was supposed to not just beat, but probably blow out, quite frankly. And we almost never talk about that. And then you just mentioned, like, Mahomes just took care of business. It's what he should have done in this game. Like, 23 points isn't anything out of this world or anything like that. It was a good, solid game. Totally get that. Guess what? Fucking Tom Brady beat Mahomes a few years ago. Mahomes was missing his whole fucking offensive line then too. And everybody's like, I can't believe Brady went to another team and won a Super Bowl. Brother, you just had the best pass rush in the league versus a team with no offensive line.
No, I get that. I get that. Everyone.
Rabbit holing.
Brady does a lot of dick riding. Okay, people do a lot of Brady dick riding, and I get it. I'm not against that. I'm just saying people need to stop doing it. These guys are getting paid that money to do that, and is it incredible? Yeah, but you don't have to sit there and gargle on their nuts. Like, come on.
Hey man, if it means I can hopefully get Brady's collective dick out of everybody else's mouths, I'm gonna have to. I hope you.
But then we're gonna have to hear it about Mahomes for the next 20 fucking years. And guess what? I'm not gonna put up with it.
Underwear bullshit. You're gonna have to, unfortunately, especially because it's in your division.
I'm not gonna put up with it because, at least with Brady, I have way more to bitch about than just he was in my division. No, he cheated his way to a Super Bowl that the Raiders should have been in.
I love that interview between him and Charles Woodson. Have you seen that one?
Yes.
Yes.
Super great.
Yeah, great. Between you and me? Yeah, that was a fumble. Oh, man. Fuck.
Before we get ready to end the podcast, I will say random shout out to Tyler Huntley. Way to be a Pro Bowler this year.
Yeah, after playing 4 games. There's no one that could have been put in there.
Nope, only Tyler Huntley.
Okay, realistically, I think you can put him ahead of Russell Wilson because Wilson was legitimately a detriment when he was on the field. I think you can put him ahead of whatever you want to do with the Jets, whatever you want to do with the Texans, and
Matt Ryan.
Right? And then I think there might have been one more, actually, where like somehow we ended up with him ahead of 5 quarterbacks because we were like, these guys actively lost games.
Yeah, because it was that, and then it was the weird, like, Mac Jones, and Bailey Zappi weirdness.
What about Deshaun Watson?
Yeah, you can't put him. You can't put Watson. Watson legitimately sucked this year too, just for the record. So like, I think he's like the 11th quarterback in the AFC. And then you look at it and you're like, holy shit, okay, the first 7 quarterbacks are out. And then when you start debating like him and Ryan Tannehill's still hurt. This other guy's still
Tua?
hurt. That third guy's still hurt. Tua's still hurt.
Tua can't play a flag football game.
Yeah,
Nope.
Straight up. Like, no, dude, it's so stupid. And it ends up looking at it and going, yeah, maybe Huntley was the right decision. It's so bad. It's so bad. Please, NFL, just take somebody from the NFC. Please, for the love of Christ. When you're at the guy, what was it, Gavin, who has 2 touchdowns on the season?
Yeah, he has a 2-touchdown Pro Bowl season.
Please, for the love of Christ, just put an NFC guy in. Put Matthew Stafford in there. I don't fucking care. I know he's hurt too, but put Baker Mayfield in there. Please. Just
Don't know. Don't
So
put anybody.
the
No, fuck that.
The AFC Pro Bowl team was like this year. It's Tyler Huntley, Derek Carr, and Trevor Lawrence.
Hey, Derek Carr, slightly deserved, but not
No. Fuck. Oh, no. Lawrence.
deserved more than Tyler Huntley.
Holy crap.
Deserved more than Tyler Huntley.
He's in there over Tyler Huntley. I'm not even debating.
Wait.
Yeah.
So who? We have forgotten a name. Who should be in there instead of Tyler Huntley?
Yeah, hit it. I'll tell you why he's not in there.
Justin Herbert.
Shoulder injury.
Continue.
Bullshit.
We haven't forgotten anything. The list of people injured, air quotes, or actually injured is like fucking 10 deep, dude.
So why
It's
isn't
so
Mahomes playing in the flag football?
Because he's in Super Bowl.
He could still play. It's
You
flag
got Super Bowl,
football.
You're
You're not allowed to. You're not allowed to.
This is why they need to put the fucking Pro Bowl after the Super Bowl instead of this before shit. So stupid. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap us up for today. I'm David.
I'm Gavin.
Am I a rabbit hole? Oh, David's the rabbit hole.
No, I'm the rabbit hole today.
Yeah,
We're 2 dudes in a rabbit hole.
You're deeper.
We're going to see you next time, ladies and gentlemen.